Sure.
I'm on tape now, so we'll probably be done with that conversation. Okay, so we are going through, I believe, the first 3 capital budgeting decisions. Okay, you have to share. It's Monday morning.
No.
So it's inappropriate.
Okay.
That's fine. No, we need a good laugh before managerial accounting. Sorry.
I see.
We're with you. We're with you.
Well, I have my own stories from the weekend, but I'm on tape, so I think we'll just leave it at that. Okay, 3-1. Spectacular tattoos. Places you wouldn't have meant to. You can't unsee this. Okay, 13-1, payback method, page 609. We're going to go through our first 3 pieces of homework, and then we're going to just work on a little bit more projects in the way of just kind of reinforcing the concepts from this chapter. So the first one's on payback. Somebody remind me what that is again, please. Yeah, it's a way to take a look at what?
How long it'll take to get your investment back.
Yeah, it's a way to, that's exactly what it is. It's a way to look to see how long it's going to take me to get back my original investment. Obviously, the longer it goes, the higher the what? The higher the risk. So let's just start and see here. Now, this is kind of interesting because this is an architectural design firm. And what's the issue? It's not like the ones we practiced in class. Yeah, the investment is happening in 2 different periods. And I don't know what's going on here. That is happening in 2 different periods. And the payback is not even, is it? So how did you set it up? Did you have to look at how they set it up?
Yes.
Okay.
I did. Well, I started doing it one way and like this.
So basically what I would do is just say, I'm starting with 15,000, right? And the first year I get back $1,000, so how much do I still need to recoup? 14. Then I put in another 8, so now how much do I have to recoup? 22, and then you just start doing the math, don't you?
Yeah.
Subtracting, I mean, it doesn't need to be any fancy format. Then you just need to start subtracting. The 2 eats away at the 14, the 25 eats away at the 14, et cetera, et cetera. What do we end up with for how many years it takes? Somewhere between 6 and 7 years. And then they said, would the payback period be affected if the cash inflow in the last year were several times as large?
No.
Why not? You're already out there. I mean, that's totally irrelevant from a mathematical standpoint, isn't it? Obviously, if it was several times larger in one of the early years, then it would matter. Okay, I'm not quite sure what's happening here. Just bear with me. Sorry. You did? Well, I don't know what's going on. Okay, now it's opening. Okay, the second one, I've got a company, and they're considering the purchase of a $27,000 machine that would reduce operating costs by $7,000 a year. At the end of the company's 5-year useful life, it'll have a 0 scrap value. Their required rate of return is 12%, which that's a synonymous term with what? Discount rate, cost of capital, and required rate of return are synonymous terms, yeah? Sure, okay. I should say that with more authority. Hey, you guys, write down in your notes. These things are synonymous. So what they're asking us to do here, determine the net present value. What's the difference between undiscounted cash inflows and outflows over the life of the machine? Let's blow this up a little bit.
So is it this year? Did you show us how to do this in a completely different? Yeah. Because I look at that, I'm like,
well, this is how I
like your way better.
I did.
Oh, I see.
On 13.
Yeah, should we practice this the way that we did it? What are our columns again? Column headings?
Description.
Okay, did you guys do it the way that we practice?
Yeah.
I'm not even really sure just at first glance what they've done here.
Yeah, I did it the way you showed us. I still got the answer.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead. Date,
Description.
description,
Years. Amount. Factor. And people.
yeah. Okay, so what's the first thing that happened?
The investment.
Yep. And that's now. And how much was that?
22,000.
So the factor is, okay, then what happens next? Change in cash flow. And is that all they say? Reduce operating costs. Was that an inflow or an outflow? It's an inflow because if expenses go down, that's the same as an inflow. How many years is that going to happen?
5.
And does it happen every year?
Yes.
And so this right here, when you write this down, that's going to prompt you which table to go to, right? Because when you write something down like this, you know you've got to go to what? The annuity table, yeah? And the amount is how much a year?
7,000.
What's my factor at 12%, 5 years annuity?
3.605.
3.605. Okay, and what's the total then? 35?
No, 25,235.
What else happened?
Well, there's a zero salvage.
There's a zero salvage value, but I also had you take always a look at what? The tax savings from depreciation.
Yeah.
They don't do that in here because they don't give you a tax rate. But honestly, can you really make a fair analysis without that? No. I mean, it's just like if you're going to get a new job, let's see, what's a good example? Oh, so somebody will come to me and say, okay, I want to pay you, I'm just making up a number, $5,000 to write some slides for a textbook. Am I saying in my mind, oh, great, I'm going to have $5,000? No, because I've got to pay 40% of that in taxes. It's self-employed. I got to pay both shares of FICA, fit, and sit. So you've got to multiply it by your tax rate to really. Then you're like, well, I mean, 3,000 isn't a kick in the pants, but if it's a 300-hour project, that's a whole lot different making $10 an hour than it is 18. So you have to always consider the tax ramifications, but they don't, which is erroneous. So what is that? 1765. So in this case, I think that's the first example we've done of a negative NPV. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I think so. What does that say? I mean, if you were to verbalize that, what would you say?
Don't do it. Don't do it. You don't want to take on the project.
Why? Though specifically why?
You'll have a negative profit. You'll lose money.
Yeah, it's not even really lose money. I mean, it's really just exactly what it says. It's a negative net present value.
Get your money back within the 5 years that it's good for. I mean,
But it's all about the what, though?
so your payoff period will take longer than what it's worth.
It's all about this. Would this whole picture change if my cost of capital was perhaps 9%?
Yes.
Sure. So try one more time to verbalize what this negative number says.
You're paying more in things. At that interest rate, it's not advisable to complete this project because you'll lose money.
It's not really about losing money. It's that I'm not yielding my cost of capital. I'm not yielding what it costs me to finance it. In other words, if we did this whole thing at 10%, I can guarantee you that number's going to be something positive. So all of a sudden it's a viable project because I'm paying 10% to get access to capital, and my yield is something greater than that. So it's all about this, isn't it? That's why you and I might go and look at the same project, and I've got wrecked, trashed credit, and you've got really good business credit. We might look at the same project, and you can do it, and I can't, because my cost of capital is way higher. So I've got to earn a ton more on projects. So there's less projects that are going to be viable to me. Does that make sense? And then the third one is IRR. Can somebody tell me what that is?
Internal rate return.
Yeah, and what's that all about? Is that discounted or undiscounted? No, it's discounted. It uses the tables, doesn't it? I think the only undiscounted method we looked at was what? The payback period. Undiscounted is a fancy way of saying it doesn't take into consideration the present value of money. This does, okay? And it's the same calculation as what? And then we take that number to the tables. We do it's the same calc as payback, isn't it?
Yeah.
Investment divided by annual cash flow. And then we get a number, and what do we do with it? Which table? The annuity table, and then do you go to the column heading or the row? The row for how many years the project is, and then you just go across, and you're going to have to do some math because it's going to be between two numbers, and see which of the two numbers it's closer to, right? And then you can say it yields about X, and whatever that X is, then you've got to compare it to what? Cost of capital. And if the number you pull off the tables is higher, good thing. If it's not, bad thing, right? So we have a donut shop. They're looking at buying an $18,600 donut making machine. It would permit the company to reduce the amount of part-time help needed and save them about $3,800 a year. In addition, it would allow them to produce a new style of donut, resulting in the sale of 1,000 dozen more donuts each year, and they have a contribution margin of $1.20 per dozen donuts sold. So how much do you see them making, cash flowing on an annual basis from the investment? $5,000 a year. Right? So you've got a reduction in expenses and an increase in contribution margin. Those things go the same way, don't they? So you add them together, you're going to save $5,000 a year. It takes you $18,600 to buy in. So your factor is about 3.72. I go to the annuity tables. How long was the project? 6? So I go in, and the 3.72 on the 6th row falls closest to the 16%. What's my cost of capital? 12. So am I yielding more or less? More. So am I going to do it? Sure. It's a comfortable margin.
And where'd you get your cost of capital?
I think they gave that to me, didn't they? They have to tell me. I don't see that. They didn't give it to you, so you can't really decide whether it's viable or not because you know what their cost of capital is. Sorry. You were just like the last one said 12. Yeah. But I mean, point being, then you would have to. 16 is a really high internal rate of return. If your capital costs are more than that, you've got bigger issues than a donut machine. I love donuts. Love donuts. There's a new donut shop on Broadway. Yeah.
Krispy Kreme just right over here too. Krispy Kreme, yeah, they just opened.
I thought they had like a big building out on North Reserve, and then all of a sudden one day it was just gone.
Yeah, they did another back in.
Huh.
Another.
Gosh. A little bipolar.
Oh, they're making some money though.
Can you
Okay.
figure out number 3? Like,
Sure. Okay, so then they're saying, in addition to the data given previously, assume the machine will have a 91.25 salvage value. Yeah, under these conditions, compute the internal rate of return. Hint, you might find it helpful to use the net present value approach and find the discount rate that will cause the net present value to be closest to 0. Is this the one you and I looked at?
yes.
Yeah. So really, honestly, first off, this is not something you would ever really do in the real world. What they're asking you to do is to set it up, to basically set it up and then just start plugging in, like, I'm just going to try 8% and picking out the factors from the 8% column and seeing if that gets you to an MPV of 0. So how much are they saying that I'm saving a year? I'm just going to use these same.
Well, what threw me off was the depreciation.
Well, I bet you can't do depreciation because you don't have a tax rate.
Or I mean the salvage.
Oh,
So you take the value.
what was the original investment?
18.6.
Right? And then how much was it a year again? 5? Increased cash flow? 6 years, $5,000 a year. I don't know what the factor is. Then I'm going to get salvage value sale, 91.25, or what was it?
6th year.
So go pick a percentage. Go pick 10% and give me the numbers. Pretty sure my puppy was thinking the same thing. He likes when we go in the field and have free play, but I make him do leash training. Hate that frickin' leash. Let's just go take a walk. Okay, give me some percentages. Annuity, 6 years, 10%. What's the factor? 4.355. And then go to the present value of a lump sum table and give me the number from the 10% column. 0.565. Okay, and this isn't anywhere, I'm not going to take the time to get out my calculator, I'm just going to estimate, but $5,000 times 4.3 is around 21.5. And times 0.5, 46.20 about. Those are both inflows, right? So I can eyeball that and say that's about 26 in and 18.6 out. So that's about a $4,400 net present value. So I'm trying to get it close to 0. So am I going to go to the tables now and try a higher or a lower discount rate? No, lower. And I'm going to keep playing around till I get as close to 0 as I can.
One way I figured out what yours is, I just took the 16% and I found out one kilo was like 3,500, and I subtracted 36. They got a number 23, and just back up on the
But you can't use 2 different percentages.
I was just using like the 16% from the original one, and I just.
I see.
So now rather than put in.
I mean, this was a stupid problem for you to spend a lot of time on. I'm sorry. I will make a note to myself that this is not a do-over because you don't ever sit around and like, well, I'm just going to play with this. I mean, it's like you're working. You've got to like kind of get on the production mode, so you're not really messing around with something like this. And besides, you could just throw it into any sort of linear regression software, and it's going to tell you the numbers. So I mean, that's kind of a stupid problem. So shame on me. Okay, let's do some more practice, and then really we're finishing this unit. We don't have class on Wednesday, as you well know. Let's just see how we do the rest of today, and then we'll make a decision when we're going to have the test. Because I'm thinking, I don't know what we're going to do for 2 whole more days on this.
Oh, yeah, we do.
All right, let's try an example.
Did you get new glasses?
These are the readers. You don't even want to hear the whole story. No, I'm getting new glasses for the low, low cost of $380. I mean, this puppy is.
And how much did the dog cost originally, the dog itself? Did you pay for the dog?
Yes, we paid for the dog.
So, woo-wee. You probably should have done a net present value table.
I mean, I could hardly believe it. I mean, I sent the vet a picture of my glasses, or my optometrist, and I go, "Are these covered under warranty?" And she goes, "What happened to them?" And I'm like, "My dog," and she's like, "Wow, no, that's not covered under warranty, huh?"
Well, see, that's why not just say you lost them.
Just that. It's like
I-
my friend was covering my house when my cat clawed it up and destroyed it.
Really?
Run them
No, I don't know. I don't think
Place
so.
them underneath your back tire and back
Run
up.
over 'em.
And I ran.
I can't believe you said that out loud.
I'm saying.
I think I would end up divorced if I did that.
Okay. No, I mean, after the dog's already destroyed them. Not run over the dog.
Oh, run over the glasses. I thought you were telling me to run over my dog.
No.
I'm like, wow, that is so heartless. I mean,
Pretend you ran them over.
oh, too late.
I know, like,
Don't harm the puppy. Don't harm the puppy.
I was like, that is super callous.
No.
I like that daycare.
I think he likes the dog more than me. Okay, so let's take a look at this. This is going to be one of those situations where I buy a plant in another country. I'm looking at buying in North Africa, which is kind of the hot new spot to invest in from a facility standpoint. And I think it's going to cost me $1.9 million. And I'm going to sell my old facility in Atlanta for $600,000. And then I think that in the next 4 years, I've done some projections. And of course, you never really know how these things are going to suss out. But what I think, or what I've estimated, is in years 1, 2, 3, and 4. The equipment's going to have, of course, as it gets older, it's going to need more repairs and maintenance, but I also think that it's going to be able to increase my sales pretty rapidly. So here's what I think is going to happen. I'm going to generate additional sales, but of course have commensurate additional operating expenses over the next 4 years that looks like this. And in typical short-term thinking, but it's going to take Morocco about 4 years to catch up with environmental and human rights laws, and then I'm going to be out of there. So I plan on selling it. In 4 years for $250. So that's essentially my what? Salvage value. Straight line depreciation tax rate is 25%. And please don't forget to tax the gain on the sale of the plant. We haven't even practiced that, but you can't not do that. And the gain is calculated as the difference between what and what? The selling price, how much am I going to sell it for minus my what? My what? Well, it's a little more complicated than that because I've depreciated it over its life, haven't I? So, yes, it's, no, not net present value. It's the difference between your sales price and your adjusted basis. $300,000. No, what is that? I don't know. I can't even read my own writing. $300,000. So I'll just let you sit on this for a while. Get your table set up. Yes.
In 4 years, what's that?
So at the end of 4 years, I think I'm going to get $250 for it. Straight line depreciation. You really can't read my writing, can you?
No, it was down low. I couldn't.
SL Dipper, 25% tax
I can read
rate.
it once I can see it.
Any questions?
What's the rate for? Yes. What's the?
Oh, did I not put the cost of capital up? Gosh, that would be helpful. 6%.
Okay. I knew that was going. I'm missing something. I don't know where to go. So you're gonna keep.
One more time. You do need to ask me something about the sale of the old one. That has to do with the new, you've got to really keep these straight. You're dealing with the sale of an old building and the gain on that. And then you're building a new facility and depreciating it and then selling it. So what do you have to ask me about the old building that I sold for 600 grand a day?
What was it that you originally paid for it to build it or get it or?
Okay, great. But even more importantly then, it's really, you're not as interested in what's the cost basis in it as the what? What's the adjusted basis in it? What is adjusted basis again? What minus what? Cost minus accumulated depreciation. And my adjusted basis in the old building, it was fully depreciated. My old building was fully depreciated. That means its adjusted basis was what?
0.
0. Hi. So how much do you reckon the tax is going to be on this thing? Yeah, they're going to have to pay 150 grand in tax, aren't they? So is that an inflow or an outflow?
How did we get that?
So it's fully depreciated. Uh, 600,000 was my sales price. My adjusted basis was 0. So my taxable gain was 600,000. And how much tax do I pay? 25%. Right? 150. You always calculate gain or loss as a difference between sales price and adjusted basis. And you can't forget that. You don't have 600 grand in your pocket because you got to write 150 to the tax man. Then I would have to tell you, yeah, like I would say, no, then I would have had to give you all the data Jess was asking for. How much did you originally pay for it? What percentage of it's depreciated? Or I could just flat out come and say your adjusted basis is X.
So for the changes,
Okay, Jordan's question is how do I handle the change in cash flow? Because it's different every year. What do I have to do? I do. I'm not really giving you enough information to do contribution margin per se. I just made it really simple. But my point is, she was asking, is it a bunch of lump sums or is it an annuity? It's 4 lump sums, year 1, year 2, year 3, and year 4, because annuity, you can only go to that table if they're the same number every year.
So to do like our changes in our cash flow, should we literally just do like for year 1, should we?
You have
Should
to.
we do, I want 320 for the first year? Because I'm like, I did all the inflows and then now I'm doing all the outflows separately because I'm crazy.
Oh, no,
I
just
didn't-
net
I
them, just
didn't
net them.
think about it, so
oh,
just net them, okay.
gotcha.
So that would make sense. I just went too far before I thought about it.
Can you give us just 5 more minutes to work on this before we leave?
Sure.
So yeah, we're gonna change that.
Go ahead, Jess.
So then once you figure out how all of this goes, to figure out your tax, you have to take the depreciation.
When I calculate my depreciation, I'm going to take what I paid for it minus the salvage value divided by the 4-year life. Straight line depreciation. And that's going to be a benefit every year. let's do is we'll finish this up on Friday. And then just finish the problems, the practice problems, and the one that's due. And then I think we'll test next Monday. I mean, I don't know what we're going to do with 2 more days. We'll see.
Can we just have one more day just to practice?
I think you're going to want that time for the statement of cash flows and ratios. They're our last 2 units. Well, we'll have Friday. Yeah, Friday, we're going to go over our practice problems and the one that's due and finish this. And by then we will have been through like 7 or 8 examples. I just think we're going to want the time for the statement of cash flows.
Are you gonna post the,
Review.
review? Yes.
Yes, Moodle. Yep, like I always do. Okay,
Can you make the exam exactly?
only 2 chapters for this exam. Standard costing and capital budgeting. And it won't be worth as many points. It'll be worth, I don't know what I'll end up making, 75 points or whatever. Only 2 chapters.
Have my exam today?
Yeah, not now because I've got another test to give, but Friday. Or 2 today.
I will be here.
Okay, sorry, I've got a really busy day and I've got a lunch date. Okay, so I'm going to save this. You're going to finish this, do everything. Oh, and just so that you know, tomorrow at noon, please join us out front by the flagpole tomorrow at noon to honor our vets. And I know we've got a couple just in this small group. So it's something I think it's important that we all do. It's not just a day off. It's really a day to honor some people that are very critical to us. So Wednesday's Veterans Day, but tomorrow at noon, because we're closed on Wednesday, we're meeting out front for a moment of silence at noon. Please join us.
Are you gonna post that review?